I am resident of Collinwood for YouTube. Joel Sands, and it's my buddy Gallant. That's my buddy Patrick McCray. That's my buddy Daniel Culver. We're here to talk Stalag 17. William Holden is in this movie, directed by the great Billy Wilder. Hell of a director. So, guys, when did you first see Stalag 17, Alan?
Sometime in the 1970s, television.
Yeah.
Never saw it on the big screen. Still haven't seen it except I've seen it on a 72-inch television, but that's as big a screen as I've seen it on.
Yeah.
That's understandable.
Patrick?
I think I saw this in 1994 or 5 when I was maybe 6. In 1996, I was down with an ulcer. And this is back when treating an ulcer took weeks.
Yeah.
And I was at home on all sorts of loopy medications, and a friend of mine just kept bringing over movies. And this was one of them, and I loved it.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Daniel,
Best
when did you first see this, man?
Oh, I actually saw this today.
Nice.
I'm just going to get something out of the way, Jewel.
Yeah.
I'm just going to get something out of the way. Great Escape's a fine film. It's a fine film. I'm glad I saw it. I recommended it because I had never seen it. Stalag 17, if you were to take its stool sample and go through it carefully, has chunks of The Great Escape floating in it.
Oh,
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it definitely does, for sure. I would say, if I'm going to dare say that if it weren't for this movie, we may not have got The Great Escape.
No, we definitely wouldn't have. The Great Escape is a bigger, longer, Panavision version of this movie in color with an extra hour and a lot of the great humor taken out.
You're taking out the humor and added more failure.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, it's still a good movie.
Well,
It's still a good movie.
But failure in a lot of ways. I mean, it is. I mean, it's spiritual victory. It is. No doubt about that. But
It has to rely on so many maudlin things. I mean, like I was so touched by all the stuff with Donald Pleasance, and then I watched this movie, and in the way Billy Wilder was going, my heart just hardens. Yeah. Compared to Animal, getting woozy over Harvey Lembeck and with the straw in his head.
The big gray bowl straw wig on. Yes. So let's see. Stalag 17, a greater film than The Great Escape. It is decidedly so.
Yeah. Okay. 8 Ball gets it right.
Bravo.
But that, again, is not to say that The Great Escape is not a great film. It is.
Not to say Great Escape is not a great movie. It is. It's a fine film. But boy, Stalag 17 really reminds you of how much better a movie it is.
Yeah.
And I might add, as a theatrician, this film is inspired by a stage play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. This movie, too, you see the tunnel. Now, they don't show you how they dug the tunnel like they did in The Great Escape, but you also do see how the Germans set them up and they shoot him with the gun, which, by the way, they do that in The Great Escape, but they do it in an open field rather than right outside the prison camp, if you will. And I love how the stakes are made clear right away. And though this movie has great comedy in it, you get the sense of, holy shit, they're in some serious trouble here with the Germans.
That's true.
And you get the bodies laid out in front of them is just like, son of a bitch. Like, this movie makes you feel in every way. But the comedy, it doesn't. Every time I watch this, when I hear the comedy, and them all dressed like Hitler.
Oh yeah.
it's funny.
It's the juxtaposition of the serious aspects of war versus this sort of coping with it. I mean, it's obvious that I think anyway, a great deal of inspiration was taken from MASH
Yeah.
from
I
this
was about to
comedy.
mention MASH.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, everybody
Yeah.
wants to go to Hogan's Heroes. I go to MASH.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
Ilsa She-Wolf of the SS, for which these
Yeah,
sets
of
were
course.
used.
Yeah, Stalag 17 is one of those movies that would go on to inspire other war movies such as The Great Escape, MASH. The series MASH 2 had a lot more comedy.
Correct.
Again, because it's a series, it gets to do more things because it's longer, it has more time. But there is comedy in the original movie. I mean, it's
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tons of it.
yeah. Maybe we'll cover MASH down the road, but with this
Let's
movie,
do it. It's a great movie.
Altman's great. Yeah.
yeah, great movie, yeah. But with this movie, guys, what did you guys think of how they set up the prison camp here?
Spatially?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's very believable. It's you know, it's very raw. It makes some aspects of Great Escape look almost luxurious by comparison.
Yeah, because you're dealing with it's winter during this whole thing, and you've got well, it's winter going into spring because there's mud everywhere, and it also adds, I think. Two things happen at the beginning of this movie to make Otto Preminger the Nazi that we deserve, which is a real cruel kind of guy, in spite of sometimes his almost urbane quips. He's still a very cruel individual. And the first, of course, is the setup for the killing of the two escapees. And then the rest of it is the harshness and the nasty weather and all of that, and his using that as punishment for
when he threatens to tear down the barracks, when he takes away the stove.
Yes.
Good Christ.
Oh, yeah.
And it's cold. We know it's cold. And he says something like, "You will stay warm by filling in the tunnel." You know, I mean, it's completely. And of course, Preminger, although extremely well known as a director and well thought of, in spite of the obfuscations of several producers that didn't like him. Still maintain his reputation as a good director, as a difficult man, and as a man who made a huge amount of money playing Nazis, especially early in his career. So, being an Austrian, he was actually sort of headhunted out of Europe into Hollywood in the early part of his career, and that's how he ended up in Hollywood. But he was Yeah, go ahead.
No, keep going.
Yeah. He was, he apprenticed under some of the most brilliant directors and designers and so on, and actors in Europe when he was coming up.
The cruel joke about Austrians, right? This is a horrible joke. I give you this joke in quotes. Not literally, okay? I have to get that out there. Yes. You know the difference between Austrians and Germans, right? The Germans used to be Nazis.
It's interesting. What's the actor Waltz?
Christoph Waltz?
Christoph Waltz. He has nothing good to say about Germans. He's an Austrian, of course.
Yeah.
It doesn't have much good to say about Germans, except that he's offended when somebody mistakes him for a German.
Oh, that's interesting.
Daniel, what did you think of the prison camp here? How it's spaced out?
I would say you guys. Well, they described it pretty good. I personally wouldn't want to be in this camp.
No.
I mean, it's not meatballs.
No.
You know what's weird though is they sure did have. Oh, sorry to interrupt you, but yeah, they did seem to have availability of a lot of stuff. Which I know it's just a movie, but it is weird. Like, even Animal had like a beer bottle that was pretty long.
Yeah.
Well,
Contraband.
It was in proportion to his stature.
Yeah.
But seriously, POWs were treated very differently than prisoners, and this is not a concentration camp or something like that. And so they had a few more liberties. They got mail, and that sort of thing. I think maybe even the
That's
occasional care package that.
And they did have Red Cross checkups and that sort of thing too.
The Geneva Convention coming in doing the inspection, and it's clear that Sefton, who in the Navy would have been called a dog robber kind of figure, I believe that's correct, dog robber, yeah, something like that. So, but James Garner is in Americanization of Emily, just the guy who's good at getting stuff.
You're right.
Yeah. That he's doing all sorts of trading, and he explains how it is. He's trading with the Nazis all the time, and so they're getting stuff. And so I think once he starts out with just a seed of things that he's good at getting, he's off to the races when it comes to trading.
Yeah.
And I think they get certain cigarette rations and stuff like that he uses to great advantage.
Yeah, it's his major capital. Cigarettes were major capital in a place like that, as they are and have been for a long time in regular prisons. So
yeah, and in the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
You could get a lot with American cigarettes and American blue jeans.
Mm-hmm.
I really love how Billy Wilder directs this movie, and you get a shot. Of course, we get shots during the day, but I really love the paint scene where they're painting the line all the way to get to see the Russian women. It's hilarious, but it's a great excuse to show you how large the camp actually is, too.
Yeah, this is Lembeck prefiguring his silly roles in another 10 years when he does all these surf movies. It's pretty funny. It's ridiculous, and it's
a priceless ensemble, and well, it's not priceless because you got Price in it.
Yeah.
But seriously, it's a great ensemble. They all look different.
Yes.
The faces are all distinctly different. And guess who co-stars in the movie? None other than Don Taylor, the Schnocker director of The Final Countdown.
Right.
Yeah. Don Taylor is here. James Dunbar.
Yeah, there's a real war hero in this movie too.
Who?
His name is Neville Brand.
Oh yeah,
it's pretty
Brand.
Decorated. He was in the Battle of the Bulge.
Well, guess Neville Brand is in the 9th configuration.
Yeah, he had quite a varied career from the late 40s, I guess, right up through until nearly his death. I mean,
all the hardcore stuff with the Mitchell brothers.
Yeah,
I mean, he was all over the place.
It's true.
He didn't make movies with the Mitchell brothers, Jewel. I'm just kidding.
I'm just sitting there, man, listening. Let's talk about the comedy, because there is really good comedy amongst. We've talked about the guy who wears the wig, the
Animal.
Animal.
Or not, Harvey Lembeck.
Yeah.
What?
Animal's his sidekick, or his buddy. Yeah.
How? Because there's just such great timing in this movie. I don't know what question I'm trying to ask, but how does this movie really show you how smart and talented not only the cast was, but Billy Wilder to?
The timing was all Wilder. I mean, he was a real dictator on the set.
Yeah.
And, you did exactly what he said. You timed the jokes exactly as he wrote them, and you delivered every line exactly as he intended. And, of course, he's working with William Holden, who he worked with a number of times for Sunset Boulevard.
Yes.
And then in Fedora, which is a much later Billy Wilder film, where Stephen Collins of Star Trek, the motion picture, plays a young William Holden.
Yes.
In flashbacks.
Cool.
There are actors who will play younger version of other actors.
Yes.
That's true.
What did you think of the comedic timing, Daniel?
I would say, it was pretty well done. And, I actually started to question if it was a comedy, or if it was supposed to be a comedy, because of how well it was done.
It's considered a comedy, among other things. It is definitely
Yeah.
that.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, all of
yeah.
Wilder's movies work that way. Even the most serious ones have some of just the blackest laughs
Yeah.
possible.
Oh yeah.
And yet these wonderful, endearing moments of humanity, you know, when Sefton says, you know, pretend like, you know, if we ever see each other in the street, pretend we don't know each other, and goes down and comes out and gives that very sincere salute,
Yeah.
which just redeems his character. Anything, any mixed feeling you had about his character just is erased in that moment.
Yeah.
This was distributed and released by Paramount, so hell of a movie. Where do you guys put this in your other sort of military movies? Where do you rank Stalag?
Oh, it's top 10 war movies, easy. Yeah. It may be, if I wanted to make an argument, this is my favorite war movie, I would have to agree with myself.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, I'm not really sure, but yeah, I would say it's pretty good still. Yeah,
it is. It's definitely top 10, maybe even top 5 for me.
Yeah,
it's such a seminal film for the modern military film, from the post-war era. It's very seminal. And also I'd like to say that a lot of the comedic timing was inspired probably by the original stage script as well. The stage play would have depended on that kind of sharp timing in order to land everything with a live audience. So, but yeah, it's incredible that way. It's I mean, there's even humor in the blackest moments of this. It's like, we're going to throw Price out into the street to die, and we're making wisecracks at him before we do it. It's just, it's black at that point. It's not just ha funny, but it's there. That sense of humor is there.
2 actors who were considered for Sefton, Charlton Heston and Kirk Douglas.
Mm-hmm.
They did not get it, but you know what?
Holden's perfect.
Great. Fantastic. World weary, cynical. He had it all. He had everything that he needed to. While underneath of it, there's something else there. And of course, it gets revealed at the end when he's, sure, I want to get the hell out of here, but I'm willing to risk my life to do it. And I want to get this guy out of here too. And yes, I'm going to probably hit his parents up for $10,000 once we get stateside. But I'm a nice guy here. Come on. So, there is a positive side, but at the same time, he's a very transactional individual. No doubt about it.
He's a capitalist.
Yes, he's a total capitalist. Free market. Or in this case, business market.
He represents the Billy Wilder protagonist, I think, so well, as being, all edge, but it's edge that's protecting something very human and very warm.
Right.
At the same time.
Ultimately, he does have an ethos. It might not be yours or mine, but there's something good at the core of it.
Yeah. So Sefton's character does get beat up in this by everybody in his little area, and he figures, one of them hit me a little too hard, and he tells his assistant, what if somebody wasn't who they said they were? And this, now, to give a little historical context, yes, Germans did use English-speaking troops. That is a fact.
Sure.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that.
They use spies.
that whole thing about Price, growing up in Ohio, but, going right back to the motherland or the fatherland when things went down. That happened. There were a lot of, German Americans who went and fought for Adolf. Yeah. When that happened, as horrible as that may seem. Did we watch a movie recently that had it was a seemingly a Latin American. Was that in The Great Escape? Maybe.
I believe so. It may have been.
I don't remember, but I seem to remember something like that. That he was from Latin America, and he was going to go back to Mexico. When the war was all over.
Yeah. It was either, I know we did that. We did the Big Red One. So I don't know.
It wasn't Big Red One. Okay. So it might have been Great Escape.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's Band of Brothers? There's a scene where a guy from Oregon is captured, and he's a Nazi soldier, but he's from Oregon originally, and he has a conversation with this other guy, and then they turn to go away. I'll see you stateside maybe someday or whatever, and he turns to go away, and they murder the soldiers, the prisoners, as he turns his back on them. He doesn't realize that they're going to do that, but it's like as soon as he's like 50 steps away, you hear the machine guns going off. So they basically war crime was committed.
Yeah.
That definitely happened. And Peter Graves' character is a realistic example of that. I think he's quite.
Oh man, that Austrian joke got me in trouble.
Oh yeah, there he goes.
He's
oh, you never know.
He's got the consulate on the line. Oh, we're in trouble now.
Oh, yeah.
I said that joke in quotes. I was quoting it. I wasn't quoting it as a real joke. I never said it was funny. I just said it was a joke that was passed around. It's an example of how some people regard Austrians or regarded them at the time of the joke.
Yeah.
So how about that Otto Preminger? Anyway, it's funny because, sometimes if you have a villain and you portray something horrible, you can do anything you want to them then as the movie goes on. That was the Irving Thalberg theory with the Marx Brothers. So he would introduce a villain and then you have the villain do something terrible to Harpo, and then you had no compunction about watching the brothers just roast him.
Right.
And in this case, it's funny because you can have Otto Preminger do kind of funny stuff, fussy stuff after it, and you still feel fine about him getting it later.
Right.
As long as he does get it later, he will.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's a Nazi. He has to get it one way or another. He has to get it.
Oh yeah.
Either he gets outwitted or he gets taken out completely.
Yeah. And I felt giddy watching Price get shot, and that's not normally a feeling I have in movies, watching gun violence, which I don't really like, and things like that.
But he's such a snake.
It's just so well deserved.
Yeah.
Because he's desperately trying to shout at them in German, I'm a Deutschlander, don't do this. They don't care.
They don't care, and they can't hear him over the freaking machine gun fire anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah.
If he had been smart, he just would have fallen on the ground and started shouting that.
Yeah. Yeah, but he was in a panic by that time. They jacked him up.
Sure, which I understand.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you would refer to this as a close ensemble piece. It is not an ensemble piece where everybody has their own little scenes off to the side.
No, they are in the mix together.
Right there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, there's only a few intimate one-on-one kind of little scenes.
And that's a big difference with The Great Escape, because The Great Escape is engineered to have all of these moments where characters have, buddy building ensemble scenes where they get along, and that's a real luxury for that movie. And I think it's a smart movie. It's a smart move for Great Escape to do, because it does differentiate it from this film. I mean, there had to be a lot of comparisons that were floating around when this was made and when that was made.
Sure, it's a prison camp movie. It's within about 8 or 9 years later, I think.
Yeah.
So it's all.
Herr Wilder really had it in for the Nazis too. He lost relatives in the camps.
Yeah.
He got out of that area. Herr Wilder was Austrian.
Yeah.
And he got out of there when the getting was good. He was originally supposed to direct Schindler's List, even around the time Spielberg did it.
That's right.
And he gave it to Spielberg. He basically said, I've got my Oscars. I've done my thing. This is clearly just as significant for you, even though, you weren't there, kind of the way I was kind of there. So, Steve, you take this one. And that's just shows what kind of a heart Billy Wilder had.
Yeah.
Because that would have been, that Schindler's List would have been the movie that Herr Wilder went out on.
Right.
Oh, that's definitely true.
Yeah. Yeah, the Schindler's List thing was interesting because at one point, Spielberg decided to attach, oh God, Marty Scorsese to it. And it was like he was going to have him do it. And then Martin looked at him and said, "Hey, you're Jewish. I'm Italian. Why don't you do it?" I mean, people kept pushing it back at him, basically.
Yeah.
I think that's what was going on here.
Yeah.
So,
Well, sometimes there are just people who don't necessarily want to initially be the one who directs it. They'd rather let somebody else do it because
True.
maybe they don't feel it's initially
yeah.
for them, but they end up doing it anyway.
I mean, it was kismet that Spielberg directed it ultimately, because it turned out to be a real, something that was a real part of the fabric of his existence as a Jewish man.
I'll go off the reservation. I think it's a pretty good movie.
Oh, it's adequate.
It's an amazing accomplishment.
The red dress, yeah. I like.
Yeah.
Let's give it an Oscar.
I avoided seeing that movie for years, and the only way I've seen it is on a small screen.
Yeah.
And you know what? I kind of like seeing it on a small screen. I think it would have been overwhelming for me emotionally on a big screen.
Oh, it was for me. It was for me.
Yeah.
Complete mess.
Yeah.
Points in that.
There's actually an interesting story about Schindler's List too. Like, one of the actors, in that, actually, like, there was, when they were in Poland. Well, I think that's probably where they filmed it. But yeah, there was a lady there that actually saw him in the in the fake uniform, and she actually said she liked it better when they were protecting them.
Yeah, some people held on to that idea. There's no doubt about that. No doubt about that at all.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It was,
movie,
and he was that was Ray Fiennes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Playing the absolute worst character in the entire film, and there are a lot of bad actors, not literally actors, but bad.
Yeah.
In that film. In this film, it's more about the inside betrayal. It's not about the Nazis as their force of evil, although obviously Preminger and several of the other minor characters that show up as Nazis are there to remind you, okay, this is why we're here. This is why we're here.
Oh, there also reminds me. Have you guys ever heard about it actually was never released. It was called The Day the Clown Cried.
We've talked about The Day the Clown Cried.
Okay, yeah, you have talked about, it's like
I think we're on the verge of being able to see The Day the Clown Cried. No, I don't say
really
see
want
it.
to.
Oh yeah.
But
I must have
I
missed
think
that,
it's
like,
finally gonna be made available.
Okay, cool, yeah.
Based on what the few people that have actually seen it have said, it's probably pretty exorable.
Oh yeah, I could see it. Like, I know Jerry Lewis willingly didn't release it. It's one of those situations.
That's correct. He thought it was exorable.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but I heard
Jerry Lewis thinks his own work is exorable, you might want to believe him.
Jerry,
the funny part is, you guys probably know, sorry, but it's kind of funny because even though it's not released, you can read the plot on Wikipedia.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh
absolutely.
yeah. That's all been very
articles
transparent.
Yeah. It's I'm not sure I ever want to see it.
Oh, I suspect we will, and I suspect we'll be talking about it here when it comes out.
Probably.
I'll be getting a call from somebody, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
What does April say?
Hold on here. I think I've got it. Most likely.
Okay. Well, there we go.
I really love how you guys are right. They talk about how in this film somebody's a traitor and they think it's just an American. The actor did a really good job playing the betrayer. Did a really good job of selling it, And I love how Septim sort of one-ups him even before he reveals him he goes, "Oh, don't you think you should have security keep an eye on me?" Because he's figured it out, you know, who the
there's another clever thing about how Peter Graves is depicted in this movie, because he easily could have been given co-starring, or one of the next names after William Holden, status in the movie.
Yeah, because
he's the major villain, but they really bury him in the ensemble.
Mm-hmm.
Even though this is one of his first films, maybe it was his first film.
Nevertheless,
yeah, they really, really, really downplay it. So you're not looking at Peter Graves like, well, what's he doing? He's got something special.
Right.
No, it's just one of the guys. You just ignore it. And, and I didn't see it coming until, when Herr Wilder chooses to reveal it.
Right, when they're speaking in German and that whole scene,
yeah,
and he's sitting on the bunk listening in. So, that was interesting. For those of you who may not know, Peter Graves was the brother of James Arness.
Yes.
Yeah. Hell of an actor, both of them.
Yeah, he was a very good actor. He had a good career that spanned about 40 or so years.
Yeah.
With this movie, guys, because there's a ton of characters. Who's your favorite characters?
Well, Sefton.
Yeah.
I think so, because he layers really well in this. The obvious thing is, yes, he's a transactional guy and he has a trunk full of cool stuff and he trades it with the Nazis in order to get what he wants and blah, blah, blah. And everybody's pissed off at him and Neville Brand wants to hang him and, all this stuff is going on. But you see, he's not some gutless little snake either. I mean, he's cracking wise just as they're getting ready to beat the living hell out of him. He's like, I'm not afraid of you guys. I'll take my lumps, but you're going to be proven wrong later. So there's a sort of there's a determination in him that doesn't come with weasels and villains in that way. You may have a determination, but it's not like that. It doesn't. Typically, a classic villain may be determined to get what they want in some sort of sneaky way or some sort of violent way or something like that. This is not what he's doing at all. I like the layering that he does with the character. As it gradually sort of, the layers kind of get peeled away in different situations throughout the movie rather than all at once.
Daniel, who's your favorite character, man?
Oh, this might shock you guys, but my favorite character is Animal.
He's fun. He's absolutely
wonderful.
It's
a great choice.
Yeah,
it's a wonderful choice. He's a luminous character.
Yeah, he is. He provides an energy that is needed in order to make this movie whole.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, and a lot of humanity. I mean, it takes the biggest, roughest, toughest guy to have the most open, wounded heart.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true too.
The only thing I really wish I had seen at some point was just Animal kicking a certain amount of ass.
Yeah.
Living up to his name. What the other side of that would have been.
Right.
But just that we know the potential is there. I mean, you just look at him and you know that he's going to take a few bullets and still take a few Nazis down.
Yeah. He's a burlesque of violence and humor and all sorts of things all mixed together.
He's one of the guys that Brad Pitt would have been in charge of, like the bear
in Glorious
Glorious Bastards. Yeah, he's just the other side of that guy.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
I think the closest we sort of come to somewhat seeing Animal, though it's a joke, it's comedy, is where he crosses the wire and they're pulling him back so he doesn't get shot. He's so determined.
Right. He's so lost. He's so glad. He just wants a woman.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's great. I love the male guy. It's funny how they're like,
too. Funny looking dude, funny sounding voice.
Yeah.
definitely. He's that character is a vaudeville.
At ease, at ease. Isn't that what he says? At ease.
Eddie.
Oh yeah.
At ease, at ease.
Oh yeah.
Funny.
Hey.
What's you guys' favorite scene in this?
Oh, definitely the Hitler one.
Yeah, that's funny.
That reminded me of MASH. That was the kind of.
That
was the
I mean, for me, the climax when we find out that Price is the bad guy and Sefton has his moment in the sun.
He does.
That's so satisfying.
Yes.
The
whole movie builds to it very, very nicely. It's Wilder's genius. It's part of his genius too in telling the story the way he tells it, and it builds really perfectly to that.
My camera may die, so if it does, 10 out of 10.
No worry.
The horse race sequence.
Oh yeah. For hilarity. Yes.
Yeah. Oh shit. Because this movie goes so well with the comedy and the drama. It's a mixture of both really, really well.
It all serves to tell the story in one way or another. It's nothing wasted.
It really does.
Yeah, typical Billy Wilder movie. Nothing's wasted.
You know what I'd like to watch for tomorrow?
Hmm.
I'd like to watch a typical Robert Altman movie called MASH.
There you go. Can
we do that?
Yeah, tomorrow night we can do that.
It's been a long time since I've seen the hot lips shower scene. So
yeah.
I'll tell you a little difference. Well, I'll wait till tomorrow.
Okay.
So, anybody want to add anything before we get on out of here?
I give it a 10 out of 10. You can dance to it, and it has a good beat.
Yeah, this is one of my top 3 war movies. It's so fun to watch.
It's really good. What are the other 2?
This would be number 2. My number 1 is Patton.
Okay, it's a good movie.
And my number 3 is Mr. Roberts.
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's simply because Fonda didn't do much comedy, and there was a bit of a fisticuffs between him and the director. So
added a little energy to the final product. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you got the Navy in there too.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. So yeah, 10 out of 10. Links to Patrick McCray's Dark Shadows Daybook on Bound will be in the description box. Link to Alan Gallant's YouTube channel, Collins Sport After Dark, will be in the description box. Daniel Culver, link to Killenberg, his YouTube channel, Killenberg, will be in the description box. You guys have a good night.
Take care, Jewel.
Take care.
Aloha. Welcome.